All right, now we're back, and I just want to say thank you for the wonderful music from the DJ. Got our energy going. So now I'm going to introduce our next speaker, a triple terp, Jasmine Snead. She graduated from undergrad from the University of Maryland, and is now doing a joint MBA and MPP. She's graduating in 2021, and Jasmine is also the Chief of Staff for fellow terp and Maryland State Delegate, Jazz Lewis. During her time at UMD, Jasmine founded Aurora Tights in December of 2017 with her co-founders and started working with the Dingman Center to grow the business. So far, Aurora Tights has taken on some outside seed funding, launched their athletic apparel line, and worked with regional ambassadors to test and promote the product. Jasmine is the 2019 winner of the Pitch Dingman competition, the 2019 Rudy Awards Student Entrepreneur of the Year, and is also one of DC Inno's 25 Under 25. Join me in welcoming Jasmine Snead.
Hi, Skylar. Thank you for that warm welcome. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So let's get started. Let's jump right in. So Jasmine, you started your company, Aurora Tights, with your two line sisters, and you started this company because you were experiencing some difficulty in finding your color skin tone tights. So just let's talk about that a little bit, the culture of figure skating and the tights culture, in case anyone, doesn't have that information.
No, absolutely. So like you said, I started Aurora Tights with two of my co-founders are my line sisters, and one at the time was my roommate and co-coach. And why we started it is because we were lifelong performers. I've been an ice skater since the age of 5. My mom put me in as many activities as possible to see what would stick, and ice skating did. And so throughout my entire experience, though, I've never had performance apparel in my skin color. I couldn't just go to the store and buy it. I would always have to dye it myself. And so as you might imagine, that was very messy. That was very expensive, experimental. My hands would be stained afterwards, and it was just a barrier. In sports, performance sports like ice skating and dance, just so many other niche sports, there's a lot of barriers. One, for access and retention. A lot of it is because of financial barriers. Things like me having to dye my tights, me having to dye my gear on top of the already expensive cost, it just pushes people out of the sport. And not because of lack of talent, because of lack of resources and community. So that was one of the huge pieces behind Aurora Tights. It was because we knew that there was so much talent. We knew there were so many people within these sports who weren't being seen, weren't being heard. And we really wanted to create that community. And so we consider ourselves a double bottom line business. And so, yes, we are a business. We sell tights apparel in all shades and all sizes, as well as other athletic apparel. But we were really trying to measure impact. We want to make sure that we're donating to different nonprofits that promote ice skating and dance and other performance sports. We're holding events and donation events, like we're holding one on August 17th. But also, too, we give out care packages. So we're awarding scholarships and things of that nature, because it's just so important for us that not only do people hear about these sports, join these sports, because once you're in there, it's going to be amazing, you're going to love it. I want to make sure that you stay throughout the whole tenure of a usual performer. And so that's the whole reason behind Aurora Tights, and it really just started based off our own experiences. And so in particular, I can speak about Imani. That's one of my co-founders, and I, like I said, we were roommates, but we were also co-coaches. And so for what we would see is that a lot of our students would have big personalities, but once they step on the ice, they were physically just dropped, like their shoulders down, their confidence.
Yeah.
Yes, you can just physically see that difference. And then all of a sudden, they're not coming back to skating. All of a sudden, they found new activities, other things, because, people at that age, there's so much you can do. But the reason why we just hit us so hard is because we think that it could have made a lasting impact on these girls if they had performance apparel in their skin color. And so that was the origin story of Aurora, based on our experiences and the experiences that we saw. And that's what created Aurora Tights.
All right, so let's stop right there. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the diversity of figure skating. So, you mentioned that you and Imani were coaching together. So did you all notice, a lack of confidence, or you all's presence, being one of the driving factors behind the young Black and brown girls you were coaching? So what does that look like in mentorship, and the importance of seeing someone who looks like you do exactly what you want to do?
No, absolutely. I think one of the quotes that hit me the hardest is from a young girl who's saying, I felt unseen. I felt like I wasn't normal. I felt like Pretty much if you don't see somebody to represent you, you almost feel like, do I really exist? Do I matter? Do I count? And so particularly with things like performance sports, you're dedicating so much time, so much energy, so much love, so much passion to something. You want to be able to feel it back. And so I think that having somebody who represents you is so important. I think particularly in ice skating, and this is why we started in ice skating, we expanded to dance and other areas of need, but we started there because there really was no other options. There's only a few skaters that people can always call out that were very inspiring, but it's just not enough. And so that has been a huge piece. I started coaching ice skating when I was 14. So that was when I started trying to give back and like
Right.
in my sport within the area. Like Tamani earlier, I'm from Prince George's County area, highly diverse, highly Black oriented area. And so I was able to start coaching other girls, but I carried that throughout. I'm still a coach now. And it's just been so important to establish those relationships because part of it is I'm teaching you how to ice skate, but part of it is I'm your cheerleader. I'm hyping you up. I'm telling you that you're confident. I'm telling you that you're great. I'm telling you that you got it. Because sometimes it just needs that extra boost of confidence to keep you going, whether that's in skating, whether that's in school, like it transfers to other places. And so it's so important.
Okay, so let's talk about the business aspect now. So, we just talked about the lack of diversity and the importance of seeing someone who looks like you in mentorship for ice skating. So let's transfer that into the business landscape and into entrepreneurship. So how important is it to see someone, a bomb businesswoman who you want to be like? And what did that look like for you? Did you have someone like that? If so, please tell us about it.
No, absolutely. I just really want to reiterate a lot of what I heard earlier about the importance of mentorship. I think a lot of things in business, I think people should just go for it. A lot of things you will know, a lot of it's common sense that I've learned. But with things that you don't know, it's good to have those lines of communication and have a variety of different mentors. And so I started at the Dingman Center at the University of Maryland, and there was a lot of women there already who became mentors for me, particularly like Sarah Harold. She runs a program called Ladies First. She was definitely somebody who helped guide me through the early stages of starting the business. But it's just so important that you have those type of networks so that you're able to go to them with different questions, whether the question is, do my numbers look right? Does this look like a good size of the market? Or is it something much smaller? It's like, am I pitching well? Or am I coming off well? Whatever it may be, you need to have that sounding board. And as I've gotten older and kind of grown a little bit more into entrepreneurship, honestly, I classify 3 different types of mentors. And so this is a key piece, I think, for me. So I think that everybody should have a mentor who is just, you can just think of that somebody you can go to for anything. They're unbiased. Right. They don't have they're not getting reward if you go this way. They're not getting reward if you go that way. Okay. You want that type of general mentor. You also want a mentor who's an expert in their field. Maybe that's in accounting. So you're going to look for a very specific accounting question. You're not going to go to everybody with this question because they might steer you the wrong way. So you go to these experts on very specific things and you ask them only really about their expertise. Okay. And then the final one, you go to somebody who's great, who has an expansive network. The reason why that is so important because in these types of industries, it's about who you know as well. And so you have that warm introduction. That's so much better when you're stepping in the door, maybe for financing or any type of other resources or just starting that type of a relationship. It's always good to have that warm connection leading the way. And so those are the 3 major people that I would try to recommend, those buckets for mentorship. And just to finish the last piece on the networker, that's what I call them. Before you go to any meeting with them, figure out who they know, go on LinkedIn, look up their needs, just figure out, okay, who else can I talk to from this conversation? The whole piece is that they're trying to help you get to places. They'll let you know who they know, and then you can also help them as well. So it's kind of definitely like an exchange. But those are the 3 major pieces I've learned from mentorship and why it's been so invaluable for Aurora Tights.
Yeah, that's great. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, the origins of Aurora Tights. So, you started this business in 2017. You were still in college at that time. So let's talk about, balancing all your responsibilities, social life, starting a business, Greek life. How did you do it all? And what are some tips that you can give to other college students who are trying to start a business?
No, absolutely. So college, I think that is a great time to start a business because 1, you have a little bit more time in your day. And, you can probably just supplement that with something that's so like you're pouring into yourself and creating like a real brand and foundation for you for later things, even if you do something else outside of that business later, But I think the biggest thing I've learned is that balance isn't necessarily 50-50 all the time. Maybe
Right.
during finals, during midterms, of course, school needs to be the first priority. You know, that needs to be at least 95% school that week, you know, or whenever that is. But other times you can kind of pull back. And so I kind of think of it as different buckets for myself. And so like for me, I have me as a person, like with the personal things I want to do, like whether that's exercise and meditating, different things like that. Me, as far as my, you mentioned my sorority sisters, like my sorority, that's a huge part of my life. My relationship, that's a huge part of my life. And just making sure that I'm feeding into all these different buckets. So not just school, not just the business, but all the buckets. And there'll be different percentages at different times. And that's okay. You know, like everything has a season. And so you don't have to give everything full force support. You're going to drain yourself. Okay. I think that's a huge bucket that people forget is themselves bucket. You know, like you are a resource within yourself. And if you're using full capacity, it's going to run out, you know, and you're not going to have enough energy to do the rest stuff that you want to do. Absolutely. So yeah, that's why I say balance is not always 50-50. So that is how I kind of go about it.
Okay, let's talk about resources. So we know everyone needs help. The help is available. So let's talk about how you found those resources to start Aurora Tights. Now you mentioned the Dingman Center from our alma mater, University of Maryland, but how can other girls who are, you know, aspiring girl bosses go about finding that help?
Absolutely. I would start locally, start in your nucleus, because sometimes I'm finding out information from people who are already within my life. Like, I didn't know you knew that. It's not until you have these conversations. Like the other day, my dad is talking to me about my supplier relationships and setting terms. It's like, I forget that he worked in that industry years ago. So like starting off locally is what I'm trying to say, is start talking to people, asking questions. You don't know who you know. And so like for me, that's how we found our first accountant. That's how we found our first lawyer. And that's just a way that they're able to kind of pour into you. And the people are excited to pour into you. So I would say start off just in your nucleus. Like every day after class, all my professors know I'm coming to you with questions about Aurora Tights. Okay, I start off right there every time. And so like just, you can just start even maybe your teachers at school. Maybe it's a guidance counselor. Maybe it's your Girl Scout, your leader or something like that. So just start talking to people about your ideas. I think the more that you're pouring out, people will want to pour back into you. And so I think that that is really important. But also there's something called SCORE Mentors. It's from the Small Business Association, and you can just sign up. And all these retired executives in the field who want to just spend time like 30 minutes to an hour talking to you about different things, whether that's legal stuff, accounting things, HR, whatever the issue is, there's somebody who can speak to that. So there's a lot of different resources out there. But also, I guess the final piece would be, if you use the nucleus, you already talked to people you know, you've already did like SCORE Mentors and other free resources, I would definitely start cold emailing people, because people have time, particularly right now during COVID. You know, most people are at home most a large part of the day, if not all day. And so like scheduling that 15-minute chat, you know, that they probably would love to do it, easily do. And so that's a huge piece, I would say. And then after you talk to somebody, say, is there somebody else I can talk to? Do you know somebody else? Just to continue that process of learning. Because the biggest thing I definitely want to push is that a lot of times as young girl bosses, we think we need to know everything, but that is a fallacy.
Oh, yeah.
But you need to know who to go to. So if you can, maybe if you don't know, that's not your expertise, let's go find somebody who it is and you can talk to them. And so that's like really the benefit of networking.
Right. I love the last statement you made about, I might not know, but I know who knows and I know how to get there. So let's definitely remember that. Let's talk about pitch competitions. You won the pitch competition at the University of Maryland in 2019. So let's talk about the importance of pitch competitions and how you prepared for that.
Absolutely. I think that pitch competitions are a great experience. I cannot emphasize it enough. I think why it's so big, because it really forces you to know your company through and through. It forces you to say it in front of a whole large group of people and also have that rebuttal. You're going back and forth with the judges, explaining all your merits. That's really just a great experience, period. No matter, even if you don't even move forward with that business anymore, that's just such a great experience. And so that's just really something I want to emphasize with pitch competitions. And so yes, in 2019 we won the pitch demon competition, which was a huge thing for us because it gave us a little bit of seed funding to kind of get going. It was a $15,000 prize, which was good for us to buy our first inventory and do some marketing and kind of really just get some movement and some traction going. And another amazing piece about pitch competitions is that you're getting this funding as a grant. Okay, so it's income, but you don't owe it back. It's not a loan. There's no strings attached. You lose usually. So it's definitely a great way of just getting your feet wet, trying out the business. And it's also like the people who are giving you are with the understanding that, you know, things happen with the business. So maybe you thought this business was going to go well this direction, but you actually have to pivot this way. You know, this it's not, there's no obligation that you have to follow out a certain path once you take that money. And so I really emphasize that. I think that that's one of the first steps is with grants. Crowdfunding is another great option too when you're just starting out, and to get some funds coming in without any obligations or things tied to it. So absolutely.
So just like we see here, Jasmine, you are a great public speaker, and I imagine the pitch competition really pushed you to develop those public speaking skills. So for any girl boss, up and coming girl boss or veteran girl boss, how important would you say is developing and refining those public speaking skills?
Oh, it's so important. And so for someone like me, thank you for saying that, but I did not enjoy public speaking. Now I enjoy public speaking, but at the start of it, it was just so, it's a team of 3 of us. And because I was the only current University of Maryland student at the time, I was the only one who could be on stage and speak. So I was kind of
so you were forced.
I'm somebody, I guess my natural position is be on the sidelines, kind of say, oh, this is what we should do. Kind of like, you know, executive director in the background. That's what I like to be. But it's just with anybody running a business, you are your main salesperson, okay? So you've got to always be ready to talk about your business, talk about the goods, be able to answer questions about maybe some other weaker points of the business. You got to be always at on point, always being able to speak to that. And that is what pitch competitions teach you. Yeah. Able to kind of say it succinctly. You can't, you know, you can't go on for 15 minutes. You know, you have a set time frame as well. And so it gives you that sense of challenge because you're competing and get that rush, but also in a way that you're able to kind of just really also connect to with some of the people within the program. And so like for the pitch statement competition, which happens at a lot of university competitions, there's a semifinals as well as a finals. And so you're with a whole track of people. It's almost like a cohort throughout, taking lessons, talking to the different coaches and things like that. So you're learning with people throughout along the way. So it's really just beneficial all around. Even if you don't necessarily win the grand prize, you're getting exposure, you're getting network, you're adding to your network, you're able to kind of speak on out loud in front of people. Maybe the audience is 10 people, maybe the audience is 1,000 people. And so it's being able to have that experience, particularly in college or still in high school, still in elementary school, still in middle school, that's even better. You know, this able to just to kind of go ahead and get started, because the sooner you start doing it, the more you'll get used to it, the more you'll start enjoying it. And that's kind of where the piece I'm at now. It's like, at first I was like, oh no, I'm forced to do this. I don't want to be the one pitching, but now I'm like, okay, I'm always ready. I'm always excited to do it and always looking for other opportunities. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I imagine that the pitch competition, like you said, you have to know your brand inside and out. You need to be prepared to answer any and all questions, even the hard ones. You were up there by yourself. You definitely held it down and you took home the W. Okay, so let's talk about partnerships. So you have 2 partners and they are your line sisters and very good friends. Now let's talk about some pros and cons of having partners with your business and how important it is to make sure that your business partners, you know, you all balance each other out. So what would you say is the most important thing that someone should consider when bringing on a partner for their business?
Wow. Great question. So absolutely. So when you're choosing a partner, it is something to take seriously because you're practically married. You guys have probably a job together, have business together, and you kind of think of the business as a child. So you really want to make that decision carefully. As you said, I'm have a company with 2 of my best friends. And so a lot of that is that our lives carry over, you know, they're able to be around in different areas. Some of our conversation falls into, you know, like other side conversations. So it's very fluid process for us. And that's something I really do encourage you to have somebody you have a natural chemistry with, somebody that you're willing to spend extra hours with, you know.
Yep.
It's okay. It's a relationship. It's going to have its ups and downs. There's going to be moments you're tired of working together, but that's okay. As long as you're able to kind of take that space you need, come back with even more energy and kind of work through it together. But I will really say the biggest benefits I would say is that you're just not alone. You have that sounding board. You have that place that you're able to kind of strategize things together. If it's too much for you to handle because you have your own life, maybe somebody else can take it on and things like that. Versus a solopreneur, that can sometimes be a lot of pressure for people. A lot of times too for investors, when they're looking at that, they don't, sometimes they have a fear that won't be able to scale. Now, I'm not at all saying that you won't be able to scale as a solopreneur. You just need to bring on a team. So maybe that's, you're the founder, the CEO, but you do have a team supporting you and helping you with other functions as well. And so I think that was a huge piece too for why it was so great to have my business partners. And I think that, like I said, it's an important piece. It's almost like you're going to have to start dating somebody, learning somebody. You don't have to immediately, as soon as I have a business idea, I need to find a co-founder. You don't need to do that. It can happen over time. It happen gradually. And also, if you're somebody who's determined, like, I want to be a solopreneur, this is my business only, more power to you. But I really that you bring on the team at some point so that you do have these resources that you're able to scale and expand to the level that you can make it. So, yeah.
Okay, great answer, wonderful answer. Let's all keep that in mind when, forming partnerships. If we're thinking about forming partnerships, let's talk about how you all were able to, funnel in your passions and things that you were interested in to start your business. A lot of people, want to start a business, but they don't know where to start or what even they want to sell or what they want to offer. So let's talk about how your passions, you can turn that into a full business.
Absolutely. I think that you could turn almost anything into a business. And so there's so much I've just learned along the way. Ice skating, of course, is a lifelong passion of mine. So it was just very natural, and I think one of the easiest places to look for is that place that you have natural pain points, like if maybe you're a soccer player or something like that, or that it doesn't necessarily have to be a sport, but you're doing something else and you know that this would be a lot easier if I had this, like if any of those type of thoughts come through your head, write it down, because that is big, and a big thing that I get a lot sometimes, people are like, okay, but what if somebody else has already thought about it? I'm sure maybe somebody else has, but nobody can do it the way that you do it. That should not discourage you from getting started. That should not discourage you from getting started just in the process of talking to people, understanding your market and moving forward, because, okay, maybe, I'll even follow that hypothetical thought a little bit further. Okay, maybe find out, okay, that is a little bit more of a saturated market, but they don't have this piece. Like maybe there's still a way to make it a unique value proposition to add so that you can still launch into a huge and successful company. And so I think a lot of times people can kind of get discouraged by that, but there's so many different pain points. There's so many things that are invented all the time that maybe just don't get a lot of coverage. You don't know. This literally just came out of somebody's brain one day. It's not like something that was always there. And so everybody can do it in their own lives as well. So.
Yeah, so I hope everybody heard that. So just because someone's in the market does not mean there's not room for you. So think about your unfair advantages and what you can bring to the table and how you will set yourself apart. All right, so let's talk a little bit about motivations and what keeps you going. And when you wake up in the morning and you have so many business objectives to do and so many things on your to-do list, what keeps you going?
Absolutely. I think that is amazing questions, because there are going to be points where you're naturally drained, so you might have your own life, you're in school, you're doing this, you're doing that. I'm sure you're all very, very, very busy women and girls. So I think that a big piece is being able to be fueled by more. And so a lot of what I would say that we're fueled by is the potential of what it could be and the impact of what we're kind of already having. And so that I think kind of ties that accountability. So, even though it might have to go through 100 emails or whatever other pain point you might have with the business, feeling like you're having much more, that other larger impact really is what keeps you going. Also too, I think that a big piece for me, I started using Asana, or I really recommend people have some sort of task management system. You're able to keep it all together. And then sometimes you can kind of just see the big picture. If I see my end goal at the end of the month is this, so yeah, I'll do this little tedious task right now because I know it's going to get me to that end goal later. And so I really recommend sometimes taking that step back and looking, okay, where am I going? Why is this important? And why do I need to do this right now? And that kind of refresh you a little bit.
Okay, so definitely remembering your why and staying organized, that can definitely help to push you and motivate you to reach that end goal. So let's talk about, some areas of improvement, some hurdles. I don't like to say mistakes, but alternate routes, that's the phrase that I like to use. So let's talk about some alternate routes you've taken in your journey with Aurora Tights.
Absolutely. I think that happens. There's going to be so many alternate routes within a business. And I love how you don't say there's no mistakes, because honestly and truly, I know this might sound cliche, it's genuinely a learning lesson. You're going to come back so much stronger from it. So when we first got started, one of the things that we did was we wanted the Fenty effect. Okay. We wanted everybody to feel included with our line of tights in all shades. But we created these shades based off of what we thought, it's just based on what we think. And yes, we are part of the customer base, but we are not the whole customer base. And that is a big lesson that I really want to to talk about is understanding who your customers are, whether that's in customer interviews, whether that's a focus group, whether, you know, what, some way to kind of just get that raw information that's data sets. You can, a lot of you guys in school is like different data sets like Mentel and other things that you can kind of aggregate some information to make some more data-driven decisions before just making a decision. Because while you are part of the customer base, you're making something based off of your need as well. You're not representative of the whole, and you really got to make sure that your product fits the population that you're selling to. And so what we did, we chose shades based off of what we thought were good. And then one day we actually had like a focus group try on some of our performance wear, and then one girl who we thought was a perfect shade for one of the shades that we made hated it.
Oh, wake up call.
I know, we were taken aback. She didn't even put it on. And so yes. And so that we were just like, oh my goodness, we just got this. And not only that, because we are a product-based company, we can't just get one. We're getting multiple of it. And so these type of things are important to take into account, these data-driven decisions before going on and making a purchase, and or larger things as well. Particularly also, one of the big things about my company, we're a shade company, but we're also touching on some larger issues within a lot of times within minority communities, which is like the later effects of colonialism. And so there's factors of colorism. Maybe that's somebody I would consider that shade, but they don't consider that the shade. They might prefer a shade that's actually 2 shades lighter. How do you respond to that? And so that was one of the first times we really were addressed with that situation. And so what we decided to do is really more so taking what the customers are saying in and making sure we're creating a product that they would like, but also that we're creating energy, that we're promoting inclusivity, like that we're promoting people to be their best selves and build their own natural skin tone. And that's something, a huge piece of our brand. And so it was a little bit of both sides for that particular issue of promoting inclusivity and promoting people to wear their natural shade, as well as listening to the customers and taking in what they feel the most comfortable in. And so sometimes it's a little bit of a sticky situation, but the root of what the story is to listen to your customers, understand the data, and make data-driven decisions without just basing something off of what you think.
Definitely. So we do know that you are pursuing your MPP/MBA, you know, triple terp, that's you. So you are learning a lot of the in-class concepts, you're bringing them to life with your business. So you're able to directly apply the lessons you've learned in school. So what suggestions would you give to other people of how they can learn if they're not in the same position as you?
Oh, absolutely. I think that you're learning so much along the way, and also information is so readily available. And so if there's something that you don't know, you can look up a case study on it or look up some other examples on it. But one thing I've learned, I'm very honored and blessed to have the experience. That I was, after winning the pitch demon competition, I was able to get a scholarship to attend the University of Maryland as an MBA student.
Woo!
So that helped me a lot, because a lot of things, like I said, I think business a lot at the fundamentals is a lot of common sense, but it was able to fill in some different cracks for me as well. But really what it really just taught me is that the best piece is like talking to a specialist. Even if you're an MBA student, ace all your classes, there's still gonna be information that you do not know. And I think that a lot of times when people who maybe aren't within taking business courses or do not have like a traditional business education will think, oh, they know more, they know everything, they know this. No, they don't. Okay. They do not either. I think the biggest piece though, if you're somebody who is coming from business from a different angle, is just really asking those questions and finding people who do have those answers. I already kind of drilled down on that earlier, but that's just so important. And so the keys that I would kind of recommend is Googling things when you don't know. Just go into these blogs, go into those Facebook groups, go into those different areas to talk to people who are in that same position as you, because that is so valuable. Again, back with the networking and mentorship, go on LinkedIn, find people that you can just reach out and chat with for a little bit. You know, it doesn't have to be long, but having those conversations can really just be extremely helpful. And I guess the final piece I would say too is that a lot of professors and people who love what they're teaching will happily talk about other things as well.
Absolutely.
Even on LinkedIn, I think particularly after the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of some business professors have been posting, I want to teach, particularly people of color, particularly Black people, about entrepreneurship, about marketing, about venture capital. Okay, so like, even if that's somebody advertising that they're willing to teach this to anybody, but also you reaching out to them on the side, I'm sure that they would love to have an audience with you as well. So those are the major keys that I would say, if you're not going the traditional route and you don't at all have to go the traditional route. You can take, there's so many pathways through entrepreneurship, and there's so many ways to supplement if there's something that you don't know.
All right, so let's talk current events. Let's talk COVID. As we know, COVID is really forcing business owners to get creative. It's changing the business landscape as a whole. Everyone is having to pivot in turn and just be ready and stay ready. See what I did there? Stay ready? Okay. So let's talk about how Aurora Tights has been adapting to life and business, post-COVID.
Absolutely. So for our company, we're very performance driven, which means large events. And so at the start of COVID, a lot of our big accounts, which means our big sales, got pulled back because people I don't know what's going to happen with the competition season. I'm not sure. And so we were low on operating capital, because things sales that we were expecting to have dried up. And we're like, okay, what do we do? And so for us, we decided to pivot into what our customers were currently doing. And so a lot of those same performers, they're still performers. They're still exercising. They're still doing things, except now it's in the house. And so we started making performance apparel as well as different exercise equipment and selling that through our website, which really took off and did really well for us. And so that was definitely a pivot. It just started a new side of the business for us. And also was so great. We talked a little bit earlier about friends and family, just larger support systems. I feel a lot of people felt like Aurora Tights was too performance driven. They weren't sure how to give back or to help us. And so they were able to kind of hop on the bandwagon when we opened it up to sports apparel. So then we got a lot of people who weren't traditional performers coming in and joining the bandwagon as well. And so that was a huge piece for us. We've been doing extremely well as far as that. But now that things are getting a little more solidified, those same accounts before are coming back, as well as so many more partnerships. And so sometimes a pivot might seem like a downside, but it really can open up to a whole new revenue stream or a whole new opportunity for you. So I would not look at pivots or the uncertainty of entrepreneurship as a bad thing. I would think of that as an opportunity.
Yeah, it's great to hear that, while some businesses, they had to get more creative than others, you all, in the midst of COVID, were able to pivot and bring in more audiences to the Aurora family and increase your revenue. So let's talk about how the biggest business lesson that you would say that you've learned through 2017 until now.
Okay, that's another great question. I think the biggest business lesson I have learned is that so much is possible. Don't limit yourself. I used to limit myself, I just want to do this. I'm a very driven person. And even tying back to one of your earlier questions about your team, everybody on my team has different skill sets. And so my end, I'm a little bit more of the visionary. I love thinking big picture. I need a point of where we're getting to. And so a lot of times it was smaller. And once you hit that point, you're like, oh my goodness, that happened faster than I thought. And so it's just dreaming bigger, thinking bigger, and really just talking about it. That creates that accountability, and that creates that it's going to happen. And you're going to be surprised how many people are with that. So whether that's your dream is to be the future Uber of the world, start saying it. We're going to be Uber. We're going to sell why not? We're going to sell our company for 1.5 billion, whatever it is. Create these goals, speak it, speak it out loud, be confident in it. And you would be surprised how receptive people will be, and also willing to help you in those resources to get you there. And so I think my biggest things I've learned is don't sell yourself short. Have short-term wins, of course. Don't just say I'm a failure if I don't do X. You need short-term wins as well to get there. But, just dream bigger and then keep talking to people about it, because you'll be surprised who people just right in your own network who can help you even get there. So that's what I've learned.
Okay, let's talk about Aurora some more specifically. So you all have a stunning social media presence. Let's talk about the Stay Ready campaign and what was the inspiration behind that and the reception.
Yeah, so we started Stay Ready, right? Like what you're saying, stay ready so you have to get ready. Right during the pivot, we're like, okay, we need some way in order to kind of engage people. Okay, we're still performing, we're still exercising, we're still going to do things even though there's a whole global pandemic going on. And so what that was that our team is, one, make a very conscientious decision to now trying to use ourselves as a face of the brand. I think that's a big piece too for entrepreneurs to decide, do they want to be more hidden or do they want to be the faces of their brand? And so that was a huge piece for us. And each week we had different workout exercises. So the first week, maybe it was legs, and then we had arms, and we had, core, flexibility, just different challenges. And then we had influencers reeled in to kind of really promote and get some more awareness within that section. We did that type of campaign because, like I mentioned, we were low on operating capital starting out. And so that was able to kind of bring in some more capital that we need to further expand. The second piece of that, I think, is starting off because now you have an expanded network as well for different people, you're able to kind of use that kind of information for Facebook and Google ads and things of that nature. So particularly Facebook ads, which is further grow our brand awareness, which has been really helpful. And you're getting customers in different places. Like you're getting customers in Alaska, you're getting customers in the UK, just places that you probably not had that reach if you didn't use that forum. And so I think that really happened through the Stay Ready campaign. It started off as an influencer campaign, just getting some brand ambassadors and making people that you know locally brand ambassadors, which was another big piece for us. A lot of times, like we use people who are from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. We use a lot of people in the DMV area, just kind of build our brand awareness home locally, but also expanded reach as well. And so that kind of launched us into future campaigns. We had a recent one, our semi-annual sale. And this time we did an influencer campaign, but it was only with performers. And that was the first time we've ever done that. It was just solely performers. And that had a different type of reach. You bring in new audiences each time. And so that, it started off as a social media challenge, but really just kind of grew and really helped our overall marketing strategy.
Definitely. A lot of our aspiring girl bosses, they're the TikTok generation, so they can definitely learn about, using that social media presence and bringing people into your brand. So let's talk about the, like you're an entrepreneur, you're a woman of color. So give one piece of advice that you'd give to the little brown and Black boys and girls watching here today?
Absolutely. I'll tell you the piece that my mentor told me and I used at the pitch competition. So a lot of times, particularly maybe coming from VCs or maybe coming from people within the field, you might get some harsh questions coming your way. And rather than framing it as like, oh, you're right, that is a downside of my company or something of that nature, say, I see it as an opportunity. Reframe that conversation. Take control of your own narrative. Do not let that be a downside, because then that's an easy way for them to say, oh, no, we're not going to go to that business because of that. No, you got to reframe it as an opportunity. And so for us, one of the key questions that we always get is, so larger companies have economies of scale. They're able to maybe, what do you to stop that if somebody else is a larger competitor was to join what you're doing right now? What we will always have to say, we're leaning into our lived experience. That's a big piece I think a lot of people don't talk about, is your lived experience is invaluable. So you for me, it's a lifetime performer, but maybe is you as always a fashion stylist or whatever it is, whatever your interests are, your lived experience is valuable. But also along with that is our network as well, because we were in the sport all our lives. We knew the schedules when people were buying tights. We knew the different teams. We knew where they were meeting. We just had so much of a reach that other people wouldn't necessarily have. And then we also, because we're more nimble, we're able to do a lot more of those campaigns. We're able to do, I guess, those cool social media campaigns and things like that quickly and easily and get a lot of reach that way. And so those are different ways that we had to say that we were differentiating ourselves from these larger companies. And being able to speak to that and speak to all the different assets that you have, and even if you're the smaller company going against a Goliath, that being able to have that conversation is very imperative, because otherwise then they can kind of say like, oh, well, no, that's fine. We're not going to invest in that company because of X reason. You got to reframe what they might think of as a negative as your positive. And really, like I said, take control of your own narrative. That is 100% what I would recommend.
Okay, so one more question, and then we're gonna look at our Q&A and see what we can do for them. So you all just launched Aurora Tights for kids. So let's hear a little bit about that and where you see your company in 5 years.
Absolutely. So we have our kids line, which is a huge piece for Aurora Tights. Like I said, these are lifetime sports. And so people might start, we have from the itty bitty babies from 2 years old who are able to wear our tights. And so we really wanted to kind of create our own community for them. Because like you said, that might be more of the TikTok generation. Then I'm leaning more into Instagram. We're just making sure that we have for them has been really important to us. And so it was very important that we kind of branched off, but we're continuing to see ourselves grow. I think the coolest thing about a brand like Aurora Tights is that we have such an audience that are interested in us. And so the reason why we know where to expand is because people are coming every day coming with ideas like, can you do this? Can you do that next? Can you go into this? Or this is my story. I need this. And then all of a sudden now you have 10 to 12 different markets that you probably weren't even thinking about originally. And so having something that you're passionate about that really touches the heart of other people, I think has been a huge piece for us. And it's like, that is what keeps the brand going. It's no longer Jasmine's brand. It's not Imani or Sydney or my team's brand. It's bigger than that. It's touching other people's lives. And so what we're expanding into tights for the everyday person, like whether you're going to work, going to church, liturgical dance, whatever it is that you have those type of tights. Also for performance cheerleaders in the NFL, the NBA, we're going to continue to expand there. But also we have an app along the way because we want to have it that's just easy to color match. Like I told you earlier, we had a little bit issues with color matching, and so instead we're going to create an app that people can kind of take a picture of themselves and find the shade that works best for them, as well as like some more task management and coaching opportunities as well. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is that a big piece about these sports is that access. If I'm in an area where I don't have an ice rink by me, or I don't have the best coaches around me, or I don't have that, what can I do to make sure that I can be an Olympic performer? What can I do to make sure I'm the best in my field? And so we really want to make an app so that coaching is available to different people in different locations. And so that is not something that can ever hold you back. We're one of those companies that, like I said, we're double bottom line. So we're just as invested in the impact. And so we really want to make sure that we have as big of reach. And so Black and brown girls and boys are staying in their sports for as long as they possibly want to, you know? So that is what we kind of see ourselves going. And yeah, we're just going to keep on chugging.
Wow, that's amazing. Aurora Tights definitely has a bright future ahead. So many plans, but let's kick it over to a couple of the audience questions. So first question, how did you manage to get people to help you make these products? How long did it take for these to come where they are?
Okay, absolutely. So when we first started, I used to dye tights myself. And so I turned our whole apartment into, it was like almost like a Frankenstein laboratory. It was like dye everywhere, just trying to figure out the right shades. And that was fun. But like, again, I couldn't make shades consistently. And so what we had to do, we had to find a manufacturer. And so in order to do that next stage, we had to start calling manufacturers and see who can make our performance apparel. And I'm telling you this story because just to show you that you don't have to know everything. You're going to learn along the way. We were calling all the wrong people, and we were just telling them what we want. And then those people will put us to the next person. And eventually somebody's like, oh, call this person. He's the best person who makes this product. And so that's how we end up finding our first manufacturer. There are only 5 manufacturers that make our type of tights in the United States. So we started working with 2 of them immediately. But it wasn't because we just knew how to do that. We started from the MVP that we created. And from there, we had to find a manufacturer so we were able to scale.
Okay. So a question from Allison Pitts. What sacrifices or compromises did you have to make when it came to your partnerships?
Partnerships like strategic partnerships, or partnerships like my co-founders?
I think she means your co-founders.
Okay. I think for us, a big, as far as sacrifices for us, the biggest piece is that we all are very busy women. We want to do a lot and a lot of different things. So my co-founder Imani, she is studying school at the University of Michigan. She's very involved there, has an internship right now. My other co-founder, Sydney, she works at Facebook, which is she has a really big role and is very involved there as well. And so the biggest sacrifice is knowing your own limits and being able to communicate, like, I cannot do this. I'm at full capacity. I can do this maybe next week, and really having that type of communication. At first we didn't, and then sometimes things might fall through the cracks, or then you're drained, or maybe it's pushing more of a burden on somebody else. And so the biggest piece that we had to learn was to communicate. And we learned that very quickly. We have a very open and transparent communication style, which is amazing for us. But the biggest sacrifices was being able to know what you can do, what you can't do, because you can't do it all. And so I think that's what we had to learn as a team.
Okay, so one more question. What is a good app to organize shipments and orders for beginners? From Caitlin M.
Okay, Caitlin, great question. I really should. I push them all the time, but I love Shopify. Okay, I think that's an amazing app. Not only does it track your inventory, track your sales, you can also do your marketing there. You can send out all product through there too, because what you're able to do is purchase the USPS, UPS, whatever shipping company you have. Buy it through there. You can set it up that they come to your door the next day to pick up the shipments, so it can be very convenient. Or they actually even have fulfillment centers through Shopify as well. So if you're doing really well, they can start sending out your product for you. And so I really think that's one of the one-stop shops. A piece I talked about a little bit earlier that I want to tie back to what a lot of people might do for Shopify. There's the businesses where you are the face of the brand, like Aurora, but you can also have other businesses as well, like maybe you're drop shipping, and maybe you have something else that's a little bit smaller. You don't want it to be as closely tied to your name. A lot of people host all that through Shopify. That's very common. So I definitely would recommend that app.
Okay, thank you so much, Jazz. Can you just give us a social media plug and a website plug for Aurora Tights so everyone knows where to find your wonderful products?
Okay, thank you. So we're at auroratights.com, www.auroratights.com. Our Instagram handle is Aurora Tights. And also we're having a really big benefit show for charity on August 17th at 7 p.m. It's going to be through Zoom. So if you want something to do and you want to see some performers perform color, I suggest and recommend that you tune in. So yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to kick it over to Katira. This was wonderful talking to Jasmine, and we're going to give away a gift card for some of their products. Thank you.
Hello, hello. I am loving the energy of today's event. It was so good to just hear Jasmine give such a motivating discussion and share such helpful business tips with us all. Our next prize is one gift card for a pair of tights of your choice from Aurora Tights. Drum roll, please. And our winner is Kaya Jones. Congratulations, Kaya. Now we're going back to the jams with DJ the Radio Gal.